Court urgent notice, maximum death penalty. Severely cracking down on new crown virus, war epidemic, 9 types of 36 crimes. Sugawara title, urgent notice from the court, supreme death penalty. Severely cracking down on new crown virus, war epidemic, 9 types of 36 crimes. Source, Political and Legal Committee of the CPC Central Committee. In order to give full play to the criminal trial functions of the People's Courts, to maintain a safe and stable social order and the legitimate rights and interests of the people, and to ensure that the various requirements of the Party Central Committee, the State Council and the Heilongjiang Provincial Party Committee and Provincial Government on the prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic are smoothly implemented, the Heilongjiang Provincial Higher People's Court issued the urgent notice on severely combating criminal crimes related to epidemic prevention and control, and arranged and deployed criminal trials related to epidemic prevention and control in courts in the province. 36 types of criminal crimes in 9 categories. Crimes against national security. 1. Those who use the new coronavirus epidemic to create and spread rumors, incite secession of the country, undermine the unity of the state, or incite subversion of the state power and overthrow the socialist system may be suspected of violating Article 103, Paragraph 2, of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China. The second paragraph of Article 105 stipulates that the offense of inciting secession of the state and inciting subversion of state power are punishable by a maximum sentence of 15 years. Crimes against public safety. 2. Intentional transmission of new coronavirus pathogens that endanger public safety may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 114 and Article 115, Paragraph 1 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, and violating the endangering public safety by dangerous methods crime. The highest sentence is the death penalty. 3. Those who refuse to undergo quarantine, compulsory quarantine or treatment and whose negligence causes the transmission of the new coronavirus with serious circumstances and endangering public safety may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 115, Paragraph 2 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, and committing negligence the crime of endangering public safety by dangerous methods was sentenced to a maximum of 7 years. 4. In order to prevent the spread of the new type of coronavirus, unauthorized acts such as setting up a card to intercept, breaking roads and blocking traffic may be suspected of violating the provisions of Articles 117 and 119 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China. Offenses of destroying transportation facilities and destroying transportation vehicles are punishable by death. Crimes against public health. 5. As a patient who has been infected with or suspected of a new type of coronavirus, the prevention and control measures proposed by the health and epidemic prevention agencies in accordance with the law on the prevention and control of infectious diseases should be unconditionally implemented. The provisions of Article 10 violate the offense against the prevention and control of infectious diseases and are punishable by up to 7 years in prison. 6. Illegal practice of medicine without obtaining a doctor's qualification, causing serious circumstances such as misdiagnosis and treatment of infected patients, carriers of pathogens, suspected patients, or causing cross-infection may be suspected of violating Article 336 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China provisions. The offense of illegal medical practice is punishable by a maximum sentence of 15 years. Crimes disrupting public order. 7. Violence and threats to prevent staff of state organs and Red Cross staff from performing preventive and control measures such as epidemic prevention, quarantine, compulsory quarantine, and quarantine treatment for the prevention and control of new coronaviruses may be suspected of violating the according to Article 277 of the Criminal Law. The offense of obstructing public affairs is punishable by a maximum sentence of 3 years. 8. Whoever fabricates false or terrorist information related to a new coronavirus epidemic, or knowingly spreads such false or terrorist information, intentionally spreads it and seriously disrupts social order may be suspected of violating Article 291 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China according to one of the provisions. The offense of the crime of fabricating and intentionally disseminating false terrorist information, and the crime of fabricating and intentionally disseminating false information are punishable by a maximum sentence of 15 years. 9. During the prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, forcibly forcing or arbitrarily damaging or occupying public and private property, or causing trouble in public places, causing serious chaos in public places, may be suspected of violating the second law of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China according to Article 193. The offense of provoking trouble is punishable by a maximum sentence of 10 years. 10. During the period of prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, people who smashed and robbed and caused injuries or death may be suspected of violating Article 289, Article 234 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China. According to Article 232, the offense of intentional injury and intentional homicide is punishable by the death penalty. The chief elements who destroy or steal public and private property may be suspected of violating the provisions of Articles 289 and 263 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, committing the crime of robbery, and sentenced to the death penalty. Crimes of producing and selling fake and shoddy goods. 11. During the period of prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, the production and sale of counterfeit control and protection products and materials, or the production and sale of counterfeit and inferior drugs used to prevent and treat infectious diseases constitute a crime and may be suspected of violating the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, Article 140, Article 141, Article 142 commits the crime of producing and selling fake and inferior products, producing and selling counterfeit drugs, and producing and selling inferior drugs, the highest sentence of death. 12. During the prevention and control of new coronavirus epidemics, the production of medical devices and medical sanitary materials that do not meet the national and industrial standards for the protection of new coronaviruses, or the sale of non-compliances that are known to prevent new coronaviruses, national standards and industry standards to protect human health, medical equipment, medical and hygienic materials, which do not have protection and treatment functions, are sufficient to seriously endanger human health. Medical institutions or individuals know or should know that the provisions of the preceding paragraph are inconsistent with the protection of human health. If you purchase and use medical equipment or medical and health materials that meet national standards and industry standards, you may be in violation of the provisions of Article 145 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China and violate the production and sales of medical equipment that does not meet the standards. Crime, the maximum sentence is indefinite. Crimes of disrupting market order. 13. Violating national regulations on market operations and price management during the prevention and control of new coronavirus epidemics, driving up prices, making huge profits, and severely disrupting market order. A large amount of illegal income or other serious circumstances may be suspected of violating the People's Republic of China. According to Article 225(4) of the Criminal Law, the offense of illegal business operation is punishable by a maximum sentence of 15 years. 14. Advertisers, advertising operators, and advertising publishers violate the national regulations and use the advertisement to falsely publicize the goods or services being promoted in the name of preventing and controlling the new coronavirus epidemic, causing many people to be deceived. The amount of illegal income is large, or if there are other serious circumstances, they may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 222 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China and committing the crime of false advertising, with a maximum sentence of 2 years. Corruption and property violations. 15. Corruption, embezzlement or misappropriation of funds or materials used to prevent or control the new type of coronavirus, or misappropriation for personal use, constitutes a crime, which may be suspected of violating Article 382, Article 383 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, the provisions of Article 271, Article 384, and Article 272 violate the crimes of corruption, offense of occupation, offense of embezzlement of public funds, offense of embezzlement of funds, and the maximum sentence is the death penalty. 16. Misappropriation of relief, preferential treatment, relief, etc. for the prevention and control of new type coronavirus epidemics constitutes a crime, and those who are directly responsible may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 273 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China and violated the crime of misappropriation of a specific property, was sentenced to a maximum sentence of 7 years. 17. During the period of prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, under the name of developing, producing or selling disaster supplies for the prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, the fraudulent amount of public and private property may be suspected of violating the second term of the criminal law. According to Article 166, the offense of fraud is punishable by a maximum sentence. 18. The use of infected or suspected patients or close contacts during the quarantine period to steal public and private property may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 264 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China and committing the crime of theft, with a maximum sentence of no life. Crimes of malfeasance. 19. In the prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, the staff of state agencies who have the responsibilities of organizing, coordinating, directing, disaster investigation, control, medical treatment, information transmission, transportation, material security, etc. abuse their powers or neglect their duties. Those who cause significant losses to public property, the state, and the people's interests may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 397 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China, guilty of crimes of abuse of power, and crime of negligence of duty, with a maximum sentence of 10 years. 20. In the work of state-owned companies, enterprises, and institutions, in the prevention and control of new coronavirus epidemics, due to serious irresponsibility or abuse of powers, causing state-owned companies, enterprises to go bankrupt or severe losses, resulting in major losses of national interests, may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 168 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China and guilty of the crime of misconduct of state-owned companies and enterprise personnel. The crime of misuse of power by state-owned companies and enterprise personnel, the crime of misconduct of personnel of state-owned institutions, and state-owned enterprises, the crime of abuse of power by unit personnel, was sentenced to a maximum of 7 years. 21. During the period of prevention and control of the new coronavirus epidemic, staff members of government health administrative departments engaged in the prevention and control of infectious diseases, or personnel engaged in official duties in organizations entrusted by government health administrative departments to perform functions on behalf of government health administrative departments. Staffing of the Government Health Administration Department, but those who are engaged in public affairs in the Government Health Administration Department are seriously irresponsible in exercising their powers on behalf of the Government Health Administration Department, leading to the spread or epidemic of infectious diseases. According to Article 409 of the Criminal Law, the offense of negligence in the prevention and control of infectious diseases is punishable by a maximum sentence of 3 years. After the state has taken preventive or control measures against the new coronavirus epidemic, one of the following situations is considered to be severe in the above-mentioned suspected violation of Article 409 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China. 1. In areas where new-type coronavirus epidemics have occurred, or patients with new-type coronaviruses, carriers of pathogens, and patients with suspected infectious diseases, they have not done epidemic prevention, quarantine, and protection in accordance with the requirements of the Code of Practice for Prevention and Control of New-Type Coronaviruses and Rescue Work, or improper preventive and control measures taken, which have caused the expansion of the scope of infection or increased epidemic and disaster situations. 2. Concealing, postponing, misrepresenting, or instigating, or forcing others to conceal, postpone, misreporting an epidemic situation or disaster, resulting in an expansion of the scope of infection or an increase in the epidemic situation or disaster. 3. Refusing to implement the decision or order of the new type coronavirus epidemic emergency response commanding agency, which leads to the expansion of the scope of infection or the epidemic or disaster. 4. Those with other serious circumstances. Crimes of sabotaging environmental resources protection. 22. Violating relevant national regulations such as the law on the prevention and control of infectious diseases, discharging, dumping or disposing of wastes, toxic substances or other hazardous wastes containing infectious disease pathogens into the land, water bodies, or the atmosphere, causing major environmental pollution accidents such as the spread of new coronaviruses, causing public and private property a serious loss or serious consequences of personal injury or death may be suspected of violating the provisions of Article 338 of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China and committing a crime of polluting the environment with a maximum sentence of 7 years. Other criminal crimes involved in the prevention and control of the epidemic shall be handled in accordance with the relevant provisions of the Criminal Law of the People's Republic of China.